Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this beautiful Larkspur Shawlette. This is a really pretty lightweight piece that we've made with sock yarn that's perfect for warmer months or even in the cooler months if you just need a little something around your neck. It is a very easy to construct granny triangle, and we've topped it off with this beautiful, easy little scallop along the edge. I've alternated the colors with a variegated yarn with purples and blues, and then a solid purple to kind of anchor it together. And again, this is very easy to work up as well. The finished shawlette has a measurement of about 41 inches across this top edge that you wear around your shoulders, and then down each side, this is about 30 inches and 30 inches. Now, if you keep working more rows of this pattern, obviously you can make it larger, or less rows will make it smaller. And also, blocking your piece will cause it to expand as well. For this project, you'll need a 4mm G crochet hook, a tapestry needle, a pair of scissors, and your yarn. For this project, you'll need some sock yarn of your choice. I'm going to be using a yarn called Calza Socks. This is by Adriaphil. I have a ball of variegated and then a coordinating ball of solid. And each one of these is 230 yards, and I'll be using both of these. So you'll need about 460 yards of sock yarn. As an alternative, you could also use two solid colors, or you could make it all in one color, or you could do different color schemes, like this one kind of coordinates with this one, and this purple and these cooler colors kind of coordinate together. So it's totally up to you how you want to style your shawl. Our shawl will have a stripe sequence of 4 rows before we switch colors. So I'm going to start with this solid purple color, and we're going to work the first 4 rows of the pattern in the purple, and then the 4th row of our shawl is repeated. So you just work row 4 over and over and over again. So when we repeat the first one, I'll show you how to join the new color and how to proceed with that. But we're going to make the first 4 rows with this solid purple. So what you want to do is put a slip knot on your hook to begin. So I'm just going to get a little bit of yarn out of here and just wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up the loop, and then tighten. Okay? So let me scoot my yarn out of the way. There we go. Okay, so what we're going to do to begin is to chain 4. So to make a chain, wrap yarn around hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to be creating a ring to begin. Normally when you create a ring, you're working in the round, but we're going to just work the first couple of stitches to create that beginning triangular shape, and then we'll be continuing in rows. So what we're going to do is, in the chain farthest from the hook, insert the hook into that chain, bring up a loop, bring that loop through the loop already on your hook to create the ring. So that was a slip stitch join. Okay, then you might want to open up your ring a little bit because we're going to be working some stitches into the center of this ring. And I'm also holding this tail along the edge as I work, and that will help to weave it in as you go along. So then what we're going to do, for row 1, we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then into the center of the ring, we're going to work 3 double crochet. So to make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the center of the ring, bring up a loop, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops, wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So that's 1, 2, and 3. Next, we're going to work a chain 2. So 1 and 2, and then we're going to work 3 more double crochets. And all of this is going into the center of this ring. So 1, 2, and 3. Then we'll work a chain 1, and then 1 more double crochet into the center of the ring. So if we turn it a little bit, this is the very foundation of our triangle. So it's just going to expand upward and outward from here. Okay, so let's work on row 2. So to work on row 2, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then turn our work so that that little fan is now facing away from us. Okay, so then what we're going to do is locate that first chain 1 space. So that's right here, that first space you come to. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space from the previous round, or row rather. So 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. Then we're going to hop on over to the chain 2 space from the previous row. That's going to create this first corner of our triangle. So what we're going to do is work 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. And then we're going to chain 2, 1, 2, and then 3 more double crochet, all in that chain 2 space from the previous row. So that's 1, 2, 3. So this is really tiny right now, but as we continue to work, it's just going to look more and more like a triangle. Okay? Okay, so to finish off row 2, what we're going to do is hop over to this chain 1 space from the previous row and then work 2 double crochets. So 1 and 2. Then we're going to chain 1, and then if you count, this was the turning chain from the previous row, count up 3 chains from that. So we did a chain 1. Then we're going to do a double crochet in that 3rd chain up to finish off the row. Okay? So we have this nice little triangle starting to happen. So then for row 3, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, turn our work so that the triangle is facing the other way. And then what we're going to do is work in that chain 1 space that we created right here on the side. We're going to work 2 double crochets into that chain 1 space. Okay, so 1 double crochet and 2 double crochet. Okay, then we're going to chain 1 and then come over to this chain 2 space on the side and work 3 double crochets, two and 3. Let me get my yarn straightened out here. And then chain 1, and then we're ready to work the next corner. So for the next corner, we're going to work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 2, 1, 2, and then 3 more double crochet. 1, whoops, 2. My yarn is a little bit curly because I'm doing the center pull ball, so it's been wrapped up inside. Okay, so 3 double crochet. So 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Now we're ready to work one of the sides here. So skip over that little grouping of 3 double crochet, and in that next space, do a chain 1, and then work 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. Then chain 1. Then we're going to go to this space here on the side. That's the chain 1 space, and work 2 double crochet, 1 and 2, chain 1. Then we're going to do the same thing we did before. Count 3 chains up. Might have to turn it a little bit to see, and work a double crochet right in that chain. So just Get it in there the best you can. The sock yarn sometimes it's super thin, so you have to kind of turn it a little bit to see it sometimes. Okay, so in that chain, work a double crochet. So row 3 is complete. It's starting to look like a little miniature shawl at this point. Okay, so let's do our final row for the pattern, and then the rest of the pattern will just be repeating the row we're about to do. Okay, so let me get a little bit more yarn back here to get us set up. Okay, so let's do row 4. Okay, so for row 4, we're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4, then turn our work so that the triangle is facing the other way. Then we're going to work in this first chain 1 space from the previous row. We'll work 2 double crochet. As you can see, it's starting to establish a little bit of a pattern here, a little repetition. So work 2 double crochet in that first chain 1 space, then chain 1. Now we're going to work one of these sides. So we're going to work 3 double crochet. This is the chain 2 space from the previous row. So 1, 2, and 3, then chain 1, hop over to, we have another side space here, the side of the triangle. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. You can kind of straighten it out as you go along. Then chain 1. Now we're ready to put another corner in. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3. Now remember, the corner has 2 chains as opposed to these on the side only have 1. So we'll do 2 chains at the top, then 3 double crochet, and this is all in that corner space at the very tip top point of our triangle. Okay, so that was 1 double crochet, 2, and then 3. So if we look at this corner again, we have 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and that'll give it a nice point at the top. Okay, so let's go back down and work the other sides. Chain 1. Now we're going to locate that first side space, that chain 2 space, and work 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, and then we have another side to work. So 3 double crochets right in there. 1, 2, and 3. Then chain 1. Then we're down at the bottom, this side point here, and you can see there's a space from where we worked before. So just work, we did our chain 1, so just work 2 double crochets right in there, 1 and 2. Then chain 1, and then to finish the row, count 1, 2, 3 chains up from that turning chain, and just put a double crochet right into that chain. Whoops. There we go. Just put a double crochet right into that chain to finish off the row and give it a nice flat bottom. Now we're talking about bottom and top, but actually when you wear the shawl, this part will go around you like this. Okay? Okay, so our triangle is really shaping up nicely. So it looks very much like a shawl at this point, just really tiny. So what we're going to do, now I mentioned before, the row that we just did, you're going to repeat over and over and over again. But each time you repeat row 4, you'll be adding an extra side. So before we did 2 sides and then a point, 2 sides, and then we finished it up with these double crochets on the side to finish it off. So you're going to repeat row 4 over and over and over again. Let's do the first repeat in this variegated yarn so I can show you how to switch colors and then how to keep going with row 4. Okay? So what we're going to do is just cut the yarn, and then you can fasten that off. And then just lay it down exactly the way you left off. And then we can get our other yarn here and find the end. There we go. So in that last double crochet where you ended off and fastened off, just insert your hook right into the top of it like that. Bring the new yarn through. Now this, because we're using variegated yarn, will be really interesting because the colors will change frequently. I would recommend, however, if you choose to use variegated yarn for your project, try working up a little swatch first, because sometimes you get really quick color changes with variegated yarn and sometimes you get slower color changes. And it's really all a matter of personal preference, but you want to make a little swatch up. I always recommend that with variegated yarn because it always looks different on the ball than it does worked up. So it's really helpful to get a good visual idea before you commit to your project. Okay? So what we're going to do is, now I tied the yarn on, so we're just going to be repeating row 4 over and over again, okay? So reinsert your hook back where you tied it, bring up a loop, and chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now turn your work, and we can get all of these little strands out of the way. If you want to weave them in as you go along, that might even be helpful also. So we're just going to be repeating, again, like I said, we're going to be repeating row 4. So what we're going to do is in this first chain 1 space right here on the side, work 2 double crochet. So 1, 2, and we're already seeing a little bit of some different coloration, so that's really exciting to see the colors change like that. Okay, now hop over to this next chain 2 space from the previous row. Go ahead and chain 1, and then in that space work 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, chain 1, hop over to that next chain 2 space and do the same thing, 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Now because we are repeating row 4, but because our triangle is expanding, we're going to have one more side, and you'll have that with each row from here on out. So let's do one more side here. So I did a chain 1, then 3 double crochet. 1, 2, and 3. Just like that, chain 1. Now we're at the point, the little point. So 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 2, because it's the corner, and then 3 double crochet. We're doing that all in that same chain 2 space from the previous row. So that was 2 double crochet and 3 double crochet. So you can see we have a lot of fun colors starting to happen. Okay, so chain 1, and now we're ready to go back down the side. So work 3 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, chain 1, 3 double crochet in the next space. 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1, 3 double crochet, 1, 2, and 3. Chain 1. Now we're at this space on the side here. So work 2 double crochets right into that space. Chain 1, and then count the 3 chains. Same thing we did before. And then work a double crochet into that, right into that chain. Whoops, I missed it. There we go. This yarn is tiny. Okay, work a double crochet right into that chain. Okay, so all we did was repeated row 4, but we just added an extra side. So when we do the next row, there will be more sides. We'll add an additional side to this side, an additional side to this side. These corners up the middle here, this point, these will always be worked the same way. Okay, So I'm going to continue, just repeat row 4 over and over and over again, and your shawl is going to start expanding in width and height. So I'm going to keep working row 4 over and over and over again. And again, I'm going to work 4 rows of each color. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4 of the purple, then I'm going to do 4 of the variegated, then 4 of the purple, and so forth. And that'll add some really nice color changes. And because there's a lot of colors going on in the variegated, this solid will help to kind of bring it all together and kind of quiet it down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to keep repeating row 4 for a while until I'm ready to change colors again. And then we'll rejoin and I'll show you what it looks like with a couple rows of the variegated put in. But again, we're just repeating row 4. So I've worked a couple of rows with the variegated yarn, and I just wanted to pause for a moment and show you what we have so far. I'll just remove my hook here. So everything looks really pretty. The solid purple and this variegated are working really nicely together. So like I mentioned before, just keep working row 4 over and over again, and you can switch colors as often or as little as you want to. I'm going to do 4 rows of each. So 4 rows of solid, 4 rows of variegated, 4 rows of solid, and that'll give us a nice striping sequence. However, you can do it however you like. Some people like to switch colors often. Other people don't want to deal with all the ends and cutting the yarn, all that stuff. So just do whatever you feel comfortable and really whatever yarn you have. And again, I'm going to keep going with row 4, and then we'll rejoin towards the end, and I'm going to show you how to add a little bit of an edging onto your piece and how to finish it off. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of the pattern, and I just worked row 4 over and over again until we came to the end here. So I'm just working that last double crochet right into that last chain. Okay, so as you can see, our little shawlette has grown considerably, and changing the solid with the variegated makes a really pretty effect. So what we want to do now is grab our scissors and go ahead and fasten off that last row. So at this point, I just wanted to also show you, I only had this much of the variegated yarn left. And at this point, you could leave your shawlette with a straighter, more geometric edge, or you can add an edging like we're going to do. So I'll show you how to do that part. And so the edging is optional. Some people like a more straighter piece. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab the purple. I'm going to do the edging in purple. I'm going to use the same hook and everything. And what we're going to do, that last stitch that we worked, we're going to reinsert the hook into that very last stitch. Then we're going to grab our solid color yarn and we're going to bring the new yarn through and then just tie it right on. Same thing we've been doing. And this will add a really nice little finishing touch to the shawlette and give it a little bit of a little fancier edge. Okay, so let's just get these tails out of the way. We're going to weave all this stuff in when we're finished. Okay, so to do the edging, this is a really super easy edging. It's just a simple scallop made with double crochet stitches. So we tied our new yarn on, so just reinsert it back into that stitch. I'm sorry, the space. So we tied it into the stitch, we're going to reinsert the hook into the space. So insert the hook into that space, bring up a loop, and then chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to turn our work. So go ahead and flip the shawlette over. And in that same space, we're going to work 3 double crochet. So 1, 2, and 3. And then work a slip stitch, all in that first space that you come to. Okay, and this will create our first scallop of our edging row. Okay, hop over to the next space, and then because we did a chain 3 and turn, that counted as one of our double crochets. So in this space, we're going to work 4 double crochets. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then work a slip stitch all in that same space, just like that. So we have a little bit of a scallop happening right here. Go to the next space and do the same thing. 4 double crochet, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a slip stitch. So we're just going to do this all the way across up this one side, and then when we get to this, we look at our triangle, we have the top point here. So we're going to work the same sequence all the way up the side until we get to the top point, and then I will show you how to work that part also. So again, we're just working 4 double crochet and then a slip stitch in each space all the way up this one side until we get to the top point of our shawl. When you wear the shawl, it's actually the bottom point of the shawl, but when we're constructing it, it works, we're working up and then down, up and then down. Okay, so 4 double crochet and then a slip stitch, 4 double crochet and a slip stitch, all the way across till we get to that point. Okay, so I'm going to continue across and we'll rejoin at the point. So you can see our little scallop is looking very pretty. Okay, so I've been working the scallop up the side and it looks very pretty and it adds a little decorative touch to the shawlette. And I've come up the one side and I'm just going to put that last scallop into the side here. I have one more space to go before we get to that peak. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 double crochets and then a slip stitch. Now this point is going to be a little bit different because we're rounding a turn. So if we were to do the same thing, it would kind of pull in and gather and not be enough stitches to kind of let everything spread out. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the space right in between this grouping here, this chain 2 space, and instead of working 4 double crochets, we're going to work 8 double crochets. So 1, 2, we can get our yarn out of the way, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So what that's going to do is it's going to let that corner really fan out. Okay, so then to finish the scalp, just do the same thing we've done before. Just work a slip stitch right into that space, that same space. So it'll look kind of like that when you're finished. Okay, now we're going to work down the next side and we're going to do that the same exact way we did the other side. So locate that next space that you come to, which is right here, and just do the same thing. 4 double crochet and then a slip stitch all the way down the side. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then a slip stitch right into that same space. So I wanted to show you what we have so far. It just looks like that. Okay, so let's continue to work down the side, work our scallops down this side, and then our shawlette will be finished and all we have to do is weave in the ends. And I'll show you how, right before we get to the very end of this, I'll show you how to finish off that last scallop as well. Okay, so I'm going to continue working down the side and we'll rejoin in just a moment. So I'm just working the last scallop in this space here. This was the turning chain space, so you also want to work a scallop into that space as well. So we're just going to work the last scallop the same exact way we've been working it. 4 double crochet and a slip stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a slip stitch, and that will round off that scallop very nicely. Okay, so then what we can do, our shawlette is officially finished. We're done the crocheting part. Now we're just going to tidy it up and do a little finish work. Okay, so we're just going to fasten off. Now if you worked in multicolors like I did, you're going to have some tails. So we have where I stopped and started each color, we have some tails here. But as you can see, our shawlette looks really pretty. The scallop really finishes it off nicely. So then what you'll want to do, just to finish off, is to any of these tails, you'll want to weave those in. So I'm just going to grab a random tail here. If you need to give it a fresh cut in order to thread the needle, that's helpful too. So just thread your tapestry needle, and when you're working multicolor projects like this, just be sure I'm weaving the purple into the purple and the variegated into the variegated and so forth. So that way nothing really stands out and it stays nice and neat looking. So I'm just going to come in one direction with my tail and then come back in another direction. Just come back across. And then you can just trim. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and weave in the rest of the ends and then the shawl will be complete. So our Larkspur Shawlette is complete. I went ahead and wove in all the ends and it looks totally finished and beautiful. So that is how you crochet the Larkspur Shawlette. Now, if you want to, it's totally up to you. You can also block this piece. This is the one that I've made here is a wool blend. So it does have some natural fibers and it will block nicely and it'll really open up the stitches, but it's completely a personal preference. Just note that if you do block your project, that it will open up considerably. So just take into consideration the dimensions will change a little bit if you block. If you want your piece to be a little bit bigger and drapier, then blocking will certainly do that. So that is how you crochet the Larkspur Shawlette. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.